The full plot, huh? All right. Sure. If I hear these details, it'll help me figure out whether I'm gonna like the movie or not. Let's check this out right now. Get over and follow the Cosmic Wonder. Tell them Tyrone Magnus sent you.
So we reportedly have a full plot leak for Avengers Doomsday, and I have read it, and I must say, it is pretty interesting. I've been getting a lot of DMs asking for my thoughts on this, asking if it's real. So we're going to go over it, and I have some
I guess we never truly know until the movie comes out, but
very specific thoughts about this, and I must issue a spoiler warning.
Of course.
If you do not want to know anything about Avengers Doomsday,
of course,
if this ends up being accurate, you should probably click away.
Why do his eyes look like that? You see that with the rabbit? That's weird.
Said that, if you've kept up with the channel, you've heard a decent amount of what is in this already. So it might not be that big of a spoiler to you in some sense, but it is very detailed and a lot more than what we've been hearing. So let's not waste any time, because it's long. Let's dive into it, and I'll give you my
He said long.
thoughts about it after. It starts off and it says, "We're in a rainy New York. The camera pans up to the sky as we see another Earth approaching beneath a red sky. On a bridge, we see Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. Wolverine seems shaken and is holding a device in his hands, an antimatter bomb.
Okay.
As he goes to plant it in the ground, he catches a scent and is suddenly confronted by this Earth's
Spider-Man.
protector, Spider-Man. But not just any Spider-Man. It's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Spider-Man tries to stop Wolverine from planting the device, while Deadpool attempts to interfere with him. An intense fight breaks out. Wolverine doesn't want to hurt Spider-Man, but Spider-Man manages to handle both of them and repeatedly prevents the bomb from being planted.
I was like, he should be able to. His enhancements make it so. You know what I mean? I've talked about this before. Like, I can't stand when they have certain characters fight when it's like clearly, you know, it's highly lopsided. But for the story, they make them more even. You know, like it just the Kingpin should never land the finger on Spider-Man. But there have been fights where he has, which makes no sense. You know what I'm saying?
By mere centimeters. I find this part ironic because he's literally planting a bomb to destroy the entire planet, but yet he doesn't want to hurt Spider-Man? I mean, I kind of get it, but still. It says eventually Wolverine succeeds in planting the device. Deadpool opens up a portal using a stolen temp pad and tells Wolverine to run because the job is done. At that moment, we cut to Deadpool returning to Xavier's mansion, where an elderly Charles Xavier watches through the window, filled with remorse, as yet another world is destroyed. He sees debris from the planet falling from the sky. We then see Steve Rogers' house. We discover that he has been living peacefully with his wife Peggy Carter and their son James after traveling back in time in Endgame. However, they are surprised by an unusual visitor, Loki. More precisely, it's the Loki from the period between the first and second season of the series. The Loki who still works with Mobius, who waits outside. Loki explains to Steve the concept of the TVA and tells him that, thanks to Steve and the Avengers, he was given a second chance and was able to see what his future would have been. Loki explains that Steve created a timeline that caused a paradox, and that this timeline needs to be pruned by the TVA because it should not exist. Okay. However, out of gratitude and because he sees that Steve finally got a happy ending, Loki relocates Steve to another universe against Mobius's wishes. He explains that this is exactly what Mobius once did for him before leaving Steve with a TVA device so they can stay in contact. Steve is now living on Earth 828, the universe of the Fantastic Four. We cut to a baseball game on Earth 828 featuring Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. They receive an intrusion alert from the Baxter Building, and when they arrive, they discover a strange figure speaking with Sue Storm and Franklin, Victor Von Doom, Dr. Doom himself.
Okay.
Doom warns them that he has studied the multiverse for years and that an incursion is about to happen. He explains that when the fabric between two realities tears apart, a magnetic attraction forms between the two universes, and the primary collision point between them is each universe's Earth. That's just...
Well, if Magneto's around, he should be able to help with that situation.
That's how it is in the comics. Victor...
But maybe it's too powerful of a magnetic attraction for him to fix that.
Explains that the Earth somehow triggered the incursion and that only Reed Richards' intellect can help solve the crisis. We discover that Victor is obsessed with incursions. He knows everything about them. Sue Storm remains suspicious of Victor the entire time, fully aware that the man standing before her rules the far from diplomatic nation of Latveria. Reed and Victor investigate genetic anomalies across the planet and discover 3 distinct energy signatures: Steve, Peggy, and James. They eventually track down Steve, now bearded with long hair, who has spent the last decade in this universe and therefore doesn't know the Fantastic Four. I'm sure he knows of them, but doesn't personally know them. They explain the situation to Steve, who becomes emotional and agrees to join them in search of a solution. Steve then explains that he used the Infinity Stones to travel back in time, but that the timeline he created was never supposed to exist. He reveals that a being named Loki, someone he already knew, eventually relocated him because Loki was part of an organization that controlled the timelines. Next page.
Loki's a good guy.
After much research, Reed discovers that there's a universe destroying other universes and says he needs to know how it's done. Steve is against this idea, while Reed thinks all possibilities should be considered.
Okay.
Steve then says he knows a place where the technology might be sufficient. Doom explains to them that not only will that universe collide with them, but another universe as well, Steve Rogers' universe, and that somehow the 3 universes are connected. However, Doom warns that when they travel from one universe to another, the time for the incursions decreases drastically, which is why they need to be quick. They all leave with a stopwatch. Steve, the Fantastic Four, and Doom depart for the MCU.
I assume that's because they're in a universe that they shouldn't be in. Maybe that's the problem.
Using the Fantastic Four's rocket. Inside the ship are the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards, Dr. Doom, Steve Rogers, Franklin Richards, the little robot Herbie. In the new Avengers Tower, the new Avengers detect the Fantastic Four ship entering orbit and heading towards Earth.
Okay.
Upon learning of the ship's supposed threat, Thor anticipates the arrival and greets them. At this moment, we have the first interaction between Thor and Steve Rogers, where Thor is suspicious that this might not be the real Steve until Steve wields Mjolnir, which belongs to Jane Foster, gaining Thor's trust, and the two embrace in a somewhat sweet reunion. At this point, Sam Wilson and the Avengers enter the Avengers Tower, and there's a brief discussion about who should take command of the mission, which they consider crucial for Earth. Sam was preparing for it, as were Yelena and Bucky. Thor appears at the meeting, ascends the Avengers Tower with the Fantastic Four, Dr. Doom, and Steve Rogers, and delivers a speech that unites the teams. So the Avengers, led by Sam and Thor, head towards Wakanda in the Fantastic Four ship.
That points to where people are like, yeah, Steve Rogers is going to be in there, but he's not going to be Captain America. So since Falcon is now Captain America, he's co-leading with Thor, kind of like Captain America. Steve Rogers co-led with Tony.
Says that he wants to speak with T'Challa, the king of Wakanda, but is surprised by King M'Baku and his Black Panther Shuri, who already knew about the incursions and was already looking.
When did he become king?
For solutions. In this case, the scene is reddish, and Wakanda is the main location where the incursion can already be seen. With everyone gathered in Wakanda, the whole situation is explained, and Shuri says they have help from another army. Then we see Namor sitting on his throne and discover that they are actually under the ocean.
Why did they change that? His name's Namor. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever.
And that Namor is using the water around them.
That's funny. He just said both.
Plan to flood if there is a threat. Namor enters the scene along with the leaders of each group, and they discover that the 3 Earths are colliding. The MCU, the Earth 828, and the universe that destroys other universes, which would be the X-Men universe. Steve tells Thor that Loki is alive and is a kind of protector of the multiverse and helped him survive, suggesting it would be good to go to him as they may have a solution.
Yeah.
Now, a philosophical debate ensues. Reed thinks this is the natural process of the multiverse, that the destiny of the multiverse is death, but that they can try to find alternatives and fight to the end. Sam thinks they should fight and find a way to stop this without bloodshed. Namor is against it and says that if there is a way to destroy the other universes coming towards them, they should do it. and that the main target should be the X-Men universe. Meanwhile, Shuri and Sue Storm are completely suspicious of all the plans and are working together somewhat secretly. And Doctor Doom remains completely silent, basically agreeing with everything. Sam Wilson says that they need to gather the Infinity Stones. Scott Lang says the quantum realm was no longer an option and that time travel is now extremely dangerous. Steve says returning
Story-wise, so they don't use it again.
the gems caused a new timeline that they needed to be destroyed, and that going back in time would only make things worse and accelerate the incursions. Reed says Galactus was a natural alternative to feed on Earth, but he doesn't know where he went. However, he has an idea to push the Earths away using the same technology he would use in the Fantastic Four movie. But this must be done quickly. So, with the help of Wakanda and remaining heroes on Earth, they begin to build a cannon in the MCU that would generate a force to push the other planets away. But to do this, they would need to go to the other universes and convince their populations to build similar cannons. They need to act as quickly as possible, so part of the team stays on Earth to build the cannons while the other parts head towards the X-Men universe. Meanwhile, Steve and Thor head towards the TVA, using the device Loki left with Steve. We then see our heroes and Doom arriving on the X-Men Earth. They discover that this universe is catastrophic, having already survived several incursions. They head towards Xavier's mansion when they are surprised. And the X-Men are not friendly, so a battle ensues. According to my sources, from the person who posted this is one of the best scenes in the film, featuring duels like
I'm sure.
Mystique, a one-on-one fight between Shang-Chi and Gambit, as well as a remake of the Nightcrawler scene from X-Men 2, but this time in the corridors of Xavier's mansion. During the battle, Deadpool appears, putting his balls, literally his balls, in Mr. Fantastic's face. The fight spirals out of control when Doom revives deactivated Sentinels that attack the X-Men. Our heroes then wonder how Doom knew about the specific detail of that universe, that Sentinels existed that hunted mutants. Magneto confronts the Sentinels while Xavier talks to Reed Richards and takes him to meet Beast. Beast tells Reed Richards that they have already suffered several incursions and destroyed other universes using an antimatter bomb. They fight to prevent the extinction of the mutant race, since the other universes they faced did not have mutants. They also explained that they have already managed to overcome mutant extinction using time travel, meaning this universe may be similar to Days of Future Past. They have already experienced mutant destruction and world destruction, so they are fighting in every way possible to survive. Beast adds that their universe has somehow already been mapped and is an easy point for incursions, which is why they keep happening. We cut to Thor and Steve arriving at the TVA, which is completely destroyed. Steve tries to locate Mobius, who no longer works for the TVA. They manage to find him, and he helps them reach Loki, but they arrive too late. Loki is dead, and the timelines are loose and begin to collide uncontrollably.
Again.
Mobius then investigates
And killed him again. Good lord. I killed Xavier too many times. They shouldn't kill him in this. And now Loki's dead for the second time, right? Yeah.
what happened, and using his TVA experience, explains to Thor and Steve that a being in a green hood and mask invaded the TVA and destroyed everything and everyone. Before that, during the regrouping in Wakanda, each character went to their own universe. Doom left to prepare for battle, explaining that he needed to upgrade his armor because they now knew that universe was actively destroying others. Until then, he had been wearing a more neutral suit, but he returned in full armor. It is implied that during this time, Doom executed his plan against Loki. Meanwhile, Doom triggers a war between the X-Men and Sentinels, while the Avengers and Fantastic Four try to stop him. Doom claims this is destiny. The X-Men must fall so they can survive. A chaotic war erupts between the X-Men and Sentinels, with the Avengers assisting the X-Men. Everyone suspects Doom and tries to stop what they believe is fate itself. Thor arrives in the middle of the battle with his hatred in his heart and attacks Doom, while Steve reveals the truth.
He killed his brother, so...
The Avengers, X-Men, and the Fantastic Four. Doom is practically invincible. He glows with green eyes, shocking Thor, and defeats nearly everyone before kidnapping Steve and fleeing to his universe. The remaining defeated heroes regroup in 616 at
Assume it's all magic. Magitech.
Avengers Tower, planning a full-scale assault on Doom with an entire army. This time, all heroes unite against him. Thor then calls upon an army sent by Odin, coming directly from Valhalla. Warriors who have died and return to fight. They all say goodbye to their loved ones and depart for the greatest battle of their lives in Universe 828 at Doom's home in Latveria.
Oh my.
In Latveria, they are received by the servants of Dr. Doom.
So far, this actually doesn't sound too bad. So it's all in the execution of what we see on film. So,
Men and women who faithfully follow Rabba Malal, the destroyer of worlds. Among them is Boris, Doom's right-hand man. A masked magician with space for a third eye appears, whom is believed to be Doctor Strange. Another figure confronts Steve Rogers, and when she removes her mask, it's none other than Peggy Carter. It is unclear whether this is truly Peggy or a witch manipulating Steve's psyche. In the group, other women display familiar magical signatures, some resembling Clea and possibly Wanda Maximoff. Finally, reaching Doom, he reveals his story. Victor was a researcher from Latveria who used both magic and technology to understand the multiverse. During his travels, he fell in love with a woman from another universe who became his wife and gave him a son or daughter. The incursions caused by that woman's presence destroyed everything. However, his research led to an explosion in his laboratory which killed his family and left him completely disfigured, forcing him to survive in armor like Darth Vader. Doom blames Steve Rogers and Reed Richards for experiencing what he never could. His plan was always to allow incursions to happen in order to map all the universes, but he only needed one key detail: a way to contact the army that brought Steve Rogers to this Earth. In doing so, he discovers Loki, who is extremely vulnerable. With Loki weakened, Doom believes he can control the future of the multiverse as he sees fit. He explains that he had a plan to steal Loki's powers. In a flashback, we see Doom pulling out Loki's spine as he did to Thanos in the comics.
Damn!
By absorbing Loki's powers, he could reshape the multiverse and recover his family, free from the threat of incursions. In his vision, all existence would be merged into a single universe ruled by him. The final battle takes place in Latveria as the Earths are about to collide. The heroes fight with no certainty, while Doom humiliates them and waits for the incursion. Using Loki's stealing powers, he manipulates magic and reality itself. His servants resemble a coven of witches and wizards performing a ritual around a glowing book, possibly
Lord.
the Darkhold, though it's never confirmed. At this moment, the Sentry appears for the first time. He physically holds back the incursion between the three universes, giving the heroes more time to fight. However, it is not enough, and he eventually collapses, weakened. Despite the delay, the collision eventually occurs. A flash engulfs the screen, and when it fades, we see
That's a cool intro. That's a cool intro, Sentry showing up.
Emperor Doom sitting on the throne of a new universe, one he now rules. So that's quite something.
So that's the dark ending. Just like Infinity War. Okay.
It really is. Now, here's the thing about this. People have been asking me if this is real. Do I think this is real? Kind of. And the reason I say kind of is this is basically all things that we have heard before. These are basically all the leaks that we've heard put together. And while I definitely know some of the leaks are real, some might not be real. Right. And the Russo brothers have said some leaks are out there, but they're doing they're trying really hard to stop all the leaks from happening.
Okay.
And I totally think some leaks are put out there on purpose. Some are definitely real. We know that a handful of them really are real, but some aren't going to be, much like anything that leaks with these movies. This happens every movie. We get a lot of details that are real, but we get a lot that aren't real. So literally everything in this we have actually heard before, which is why I'm a little skeptical about it. However, if those leaks from the past are true, then a lot of this is real as well. Ultimately, I think this is kind of the path that the movie is going to follow. Some things might be a little off, and obviously there's a lot more to the movie than this, right?
That's a good video, man. I liked hearing all those details. That's pretty cool. If it goes in a similar direction to that, the Russos are known for executing properly. So, this should be a damn good movie. This should be good. So, I feel good. Post comments down below. Let me know what you all think if you enjoyed my thoughts and commentary. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. 10 million subscribers.